Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistushtuvagum Sastanubhi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuh Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatirdadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's chant the seventh mantra. Excuse me. Nantah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayatah pragyam, na pragyanaganam, na pragyam, na pragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatma pratyayasaram, prapancha upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vigneyaha. All right. So let's see, where were we? So the last time when we met, we were reviewing the Kena Upanishad that points out how we make this mistake about ourselves in this life. And a mistake about evaluating ourselves. Who are we? What's happening? All of those kinds of things. And this mistake turns out to be a huge problem. There are mistakes that are not resulting in large problems, and then there are mistakes that are huge. So in the Upanishads it is said, Paran chikhani vyatranat swayambhu tasmat paran pashyatin antaratman. This is an important verse, and we should really understand how that is. So I remember Swami Dayananji saying this. He said, you know, if you look at a baby being born, and so the birth of a person, birth of a jiva, is shrouded in ignorance, darkness and ignorance, shrouded completely. So when the baby is born, it doesn't know anything. It doesn't know left from right to wrong. Nothing. It's just completely engulfed in ignorance. You know, there's one thing that the baby does know. You can say there's an exception to this. This is a very beautiful thing to see. And actually is very revealing. It's not just beautiful, but something very revealing. The baby knows that if it is not comfortable, it must cry. One can see, how does it know that? This is not random. What if some of the babies, as soon as they are uncomfortable, they start laughing? No. There is a certain consistency. There is a certain continuity. So this is an important thing because the continuity is from the previous life. People still argue about are there multiple lives? Is there life after death? Were we ever born? This is all so ridiculous. It is so easy to see. I mean, as soon as the bird is born, it knows how to fly. Because where did it learn from? From his previous vasanas, from impressions. So similarly here, the baby also, it knows that something is, I am not very happy at the moment because I'm wet. And what is happening to me? All of a sudden, I was in my mom's womb, comfortably sitting there for so many months. Now there's all these kinds of things. So it starts crying. And in fact, there's a problem if the baby doesn't cry. It has to cry. So that's the only thing. Other than that, it is shrouded in complete ignorance. It doesn't know who my mother is. It doesn't know what anything is. One by one, the ignorance of the baby is removed. One by one. One step at a time. After a few days, it can recognize. And the baby also knows how to suck the nipple of the mother to drink milk. That's also it's something it knows. So there's a couple of things that it knows. Other than that, everything is brand new. Then it says, oh, this is a mom. Whenever he sees mom, there's a slight sense of recognition. Then there is light, there is darkness. One thing or the other, there is removal of ignorance. Removal of ignorance. There is one removal of ignorance which does not take place. Because everything has to be revealed, everything has to be corrected. There's one ignorance that is not corrected. And that ignorance is the ignorance of the self. Who am I? What is happening to me? What is my future? Where did I come from? That is something that is not removed. And the reason it is not removed is that the people that have to remove it are not there. The mother also doesn't know. She is also completely shrouded in the ignorance of the self. The father also doesn't know. Uncles also don't know. None of the people around there. And so there's a doctor, nurses, hospital. They all have different knowledge about diseases, cleanliness. All of those are there. But the knowledge of the self is missing. And remains missing until it is corrected. Until it is corrected. And it will be corrected. It will be corrected. Why can we say that it is be corrected? How can we say that? We can say that because here is the rule of life. The rule of life, one of the rules of life, not the only one, many rules of life. One of the rules of life, which is what is called the order of the universe. There are lots of orders of the universe, that the water must boil at exactly 100 degrees centigrade is the order of the universe. So similarly, there is an order of the universe which says that if there is a desire which is born out of a jiva, a person, that desire doesn't have to be fulfilled. Doesn't have to be fulfilled. And you can give up that desire without it being fulfilled comfortably, happily. So, Swami Dayananji, I remember the example that he gave. He said, suppose that you have a girl born in the family. And the girl is very, very bright. Everything is all going well, this baby. And as she grows up, the parent starts thinking, wow, we are so happy to have this daughter. And I think she's going to do very well. And you start imagining, what if she becomes a senator and possibly a president, but at least, I think it'll be nice because she has all the right kind of intelligence and so on and so forth. Then as the daughter goes to high school, this is all Swamiji talking. I remember this from his talks. You discover that she is not very outgoing. She is a very introverted person, very bright. Everything is just fine with her, but she doesn't relate very well to the people. So the original desire of the parents, which had become kind of solid, that my God, our daughter can become a huge person, is now given up. And the parents also realize that this is not going to happen. So they get disappointed for a few days, I wish we had this, I wish she was like this. But she said, she's a wonderful person, fine the way it is. It was our mistake that we imposed upon some kind of a expectation upon her, which is not going to happen. And so everything is okay, fine. So here's the rule. The rule is that, and so we do this on a regular basis. I wish I had that job. And then once we don't get that job, we are okay with it after a while. Like that, any kind of desires made by humankind can result in non-fulfillment, and the human beings are okay with the non-fulfillment. This is the law of life. There is another law of life, and that is desires that are not ours to make. They are given to us by the Almighty, by Ishvara. They are provided for us, will be fulfilled one day, must be fulfilled one day. And we cannot be comfortable with it until it gets fulfilled one day. You can see everyday's examples. Hunger. I did not invent hunger. It was not a personal desire. It is something that is given to everyone. A very essential part of life. Thirst. So many of them. Desire to be comfortable. Desire to be secure. Desire to have fun. All these are natural desires that I did not invent. They are not my choice. They were all given to me. That means the law of life is that because they are given by a all-knowing person, Ishvara is Sarvagyaha, Sarvashaktiman. Not only is the Ishvara all-knowing, but it has the ability to complete any desire by its very nature. If that is the case, all desires in our life will be fulfilled that are not mine. You can tell where I'm leading to. There is a desire on the part of all of us to be totally fulfilled. Not just partially fulfilled, but totally fulfilled. And our conduct of life betrays that. I may be happy with some partial success in my life, but that is not enough. All partial successes are tinged with partial failures. All partial successes. And so it's very obvious. Sometimes we get very happy, but we know very well that that happiness is limited by time, by place, by design. We know that. But my quest for total fulfillment is still there. Limited desires can give us some personal happiness. I remember, this is interesting. You know, you've all heard of the phenomenal success of this stock called NVIDIA that makes all these chips for artificial intelligence. And out of nowhere, they have come to become one of the most successful companies in the whole creation. They are vying with Apple to become the biggest, the most capitalized company, one with the most assets, close to I think more than $3 trillion. Just amazing, incredible story. And you know, it was interesting that 3-4 years ago, even more than that, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I bought some stock of NVIDIA. And when it started to go up, I mean, most of my assets are really managed by some company. I don't really do that, but I have a small one that I just play with here and there. And so I bought some NVIDIA stock, and it went up so much that I was just saying, wow, I can't believe it. It was beyond my expectation. So this is a sense of, you might say, partial happiness. But look what happened. And look what happens in these cases. So I sold quite a bit of it. Did not completely sell it, but I sold probably about half of it. And then it started to go up. Now the success has now turned sour on me because I said, I shouldn't have sold it. There's also uncertainty about the future. Even now, people are saying, I'm still holding a little bit of it. And even now there is uncertainty. Is it reached its peak? No, others people. So all I'm saying is that relative happiness, we know it is tinged with problems. But we don't give up. We keep looking for different ways to do that. So therefore, the rule of life is that total fulfillment is not my choice. And because it is Ishvara's wish on us, it will be fulfilled. The question is, why is it not fulfilled? Why do I go through the whole life without discovering total fulfillment? Total fulfillment means complete independence. Absolutely no conditions on it. That is the freedom, that is the fulfillment that everyone is seeking and everyone will get, because it is the Ishvara's desire, not mine. So this one should be clear. Why is it that I don't fulfill it? This we must understand. So here the Upanishad says the reason for this is that I am making a mistake of finding fulfillment where it is not possible to be there. And by the same token, I am not looking at where it is there. So there are two problems. There are two sides of the same coin. One side of this coin is that I am not looking where it should be. And the other problem is that I am looking where it is not going to be possible to be there. This is the issue. So let's look into that. Let's analyze it. Excuse me a second. There is my wife is not there. There is a knock on the door. I'll be right back. Okay? Sorry. Maybe a minute. So as we were seeing that the reason that we are not able to see total fulfillment is because the twin nature of our search, the problems with the twin nature. One is that I'm looking to see where I am trying to find fulfillment where it is not, and I'm not looking where it is. So this is what is conveyed in this Upanishad Vakya. Paran chikhani vyatranat swayambhuhu tasmat paran pashyati na antaratma. And so as we saw that when the baby is born, it tries to remove its ignorance in the most natural way it is supposed to, which is that it takes its sense organs backed by the mind to remove ignorance about things. This is good, this is not good, this is light, this is darkness, this is mother, this is father, this is friendly, this is not friendly, all those kinds of things that the baby does. And then it removes ignorance about words, language, about arithmetic, and then goes into more sophisticated things, physics, chemistry, law, engineering, etc., etc. All this time using the instruments that it is given, which is paran chikhani. So chikhani here means indriyani. All the sense organs and organs of action, all these are paran. So paran chikhani means they are outwardly bound. Outwardly bound, paran chikhani vyatranat swayambhu. Vyatranat swayambhu means that it's almost here swayambhu can be taken both as Ishvara, Paramatma, or the Jivatma. Either one can be okay. So the Jivatma, our Jnana Swarupa, is actually empowering our sense organs just like the batteries are empowering a flashlight. And the flashlight is only able to see things other than itself, not the battery itself. This is the very simple rule. That's the meaning of Yatranat Swayambhu Paran Pashyati Nantaratma. But this is the way I look at things. So this way of looking at things means that there is no facility in me to understand who I am, because the instruments for my knowledge are very limited and outwardly bound. This is what is the meaning of it. And this results in a self-assessment, which is, because it is incomplete, it is very faulty and creates in me a sense of wantingness which is never satisfied. And this sense of dissatisfaction is conveyed by these three words, which we will go over in more detail later on, but just very briefly: Shoka, Moha, and Bhaya. Shoka, Moha, and Bhaya. Shoka means sorrow, means sense of disappointment, of not happiness, incompleteness. This is called Shoka. Moha means a basic mistake, also called Bhranti. So this word Bhranti we will look into in more detail as we go along. It's not just disillusionment, but it is something more than that, and we will discuss that. So it just means a mistake, complete mistake. And Bhaya means a fear and concern. So, underlying our approach to life, if you go down to the brass tacks of how I feel about things, these are the three things come up. So here, Swami Akhandananda says that out of these three, moha is the mother and father of the other two, which are offsprings. Shoka is an offspring, Bhaya is an offspring, but moha is the parent. What is moha? Very briefly. What moha it is, you want stability in what you're looking at. Because the nature of ourselves is stability. Total, you can't even the word stability is not strong enough. It means total non-change. I want to just be what I am. I don't want to keep changing. Because changing is not helping me. As we've been discussing in the introduction to this seventh mantra, that we are looking for change. So I want stability. So my view of life is I want stability. And the world is basically non-stable. I'm looking at stability where it is not possible. I want to hang on to things. I have a good job and I don't want that job to ever go away. I have some basic health which I'm happy with, and I don't ever want to become unhealthy. I have some children that I love, and that love should stay. I do not want any misunderstanding. I don't want any misunderstanding between my spouse and I. So I'm really looking for stability, and what I'm finding is complete lack of stability in everything that I see. So as a result of that, this is what is called moha. Moha means, and this is also Maya. Moha and Maya, moha is nothing but a result. It's one of the constituents of Maya. It means that I'm looking for some place where it is not. This is the mistake. And it results in shoka, means any kind of a non-stability in my expectation results in disappointment. Why did that happen? I wish it had not happened. And sometimes even I make a mistake myself, and the world makes a mistake. Together we are resulting in shoka. So this is the past. So if you look at the three periods of time, one is the past, one is the present, and one is the future. So the present, in the way I'm looking at it, is moha. I'm continuously expecting stability in the present, and it is not there. It results in shoka in the past, because now I can review that I was hoping these things will happen, but it didn't happen. Not happy about that. That's shoka. The future is bhaya. Bhaya means fear and concern. I hope these things don't go away. I'm happy with what I have. I don't want anything more, but I am at least happy with what I have. And I hope it doesn't change. Concern. And fear, which is a more severe form of concern. That also comes up. This is my attitude toward life. And so there is a sense of incompleteness. This is the situation. So here, the question is, how am I going to reconcile this? How am I going to find completeness, which is supposed to be my right? Because it is given by Ishvara. So it's not something that I cannot dismiss it like hunger. All hunger is supposed to result in a non-hunger, even for a short time. So similarly, the desire for fulfillment, even though I'm making mistakes and so on and so forth, must be fulfilled. How? What's going to happen? So this is where the very famous 10th man story becomes very useful. This is one of the most important illustrations in Vedanta. And it is nothing new. This has been there forever. Same story. Very simple story, but very important story. So you know what the story is, that there was a person who decided that there was going to be 10 people and he was counting everybody and there's only 9. And as a result of that, he is in deep sorrow. You talk about shoka, this is a deep shoka. So much so that he just cannot even face the future. Even the bhaya is just stark in his mind and he just wants to commit suicide. This is how badly he feels. So there we have a person who understands what's going on after you look at what the situation is, and he says what seems to be the problem. So this person says there were 10 of us before we crossed the river, and now there's only 9 left and one person is lost, and we are very sorrowful about that. This person made a quick count and he said, there are 10 people. I don't know what he's talking about. Then he understood, aha, he must have forgotten to count himself. That must have happened. He's just, see, this is the thing. Just look at this. What a beautiful story it is. His mind, his thoughts, his conclusions, his way of thinking is all outwardly bound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, 8, 7, 8, like that. Outwardly bound. And it is because, how, you can argue, when did he make this mistake? When did it start? It never started. It was there, always lurking in the background somewhere. Possibility. It's not as though at one time he knew there were 10 of us. I am also one of them. No, as they are going out, they are just enjoying themselves. And he has no idea of counting or not counting. Finally, as his teacher has said, that make sure you are responsible and make sure that everybody's together, and he's a little concerned. So this fear grows into an understanding of, let me make a count, and in making the count he makes a mistake because he's looking outwards. Very similar to that is our case in life, that we are counting ourselves but not completely. So there a person comes in and says, no, there is a mistake, that you are the 10th person. So this is an important example because it also answers the doubt that people have, that how can Atmagyanam result in total happiness. How can self-knowledge, try it. Try to, talk to some friends who are very intelligent. We all have people who are very sharp, sharper than we are, more successful than we might be. Everything is fine. And you tell them, self-knowledge cures everything. And they'll say, what? What is self-knowledge? And so you tell them that, there is something that is missing between us. What is missing? What are you talking about? And they will argue their points with such force that you'll say, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe this Vedanta doesn't make any, I don't understand this at all. You'll forget about everything that you've learned. This is why do not start discussing these things in casual conversation in society. You'll lose. You will not be able to really, so protect it in your own heart until the fire becomes strong enough that you can argue. I remember when, this is pretty early on when I met Swami Dayanandji. And so once this is before the PRC ashram. So somewhere between 1976 and 1979. So he would come for some visits to just like Swami Chinmayananda also did. They would come for an annual visit. Swami Dayananda also came for 2-3 years. He would come for annual visits to various places. And I remember this. I was so taken in by his teachings that I would try to actually go to some other places in the country. Sometimes I have a business trip and so one time he was talking in Toronto, and I happened to have a meeting closed in New York. So I thought that I will also swing by in Toronto and meet Swamiji. So when I went to Toronto, there was an evening talk which I attended. Then there was a forum of several people discussing Hinduism in some kind of a get-together. And Swamiji was one of them. And there was a professor of Hindu religion at McMaster University. I remember his last name was Chatterjee. I think that's all I remember. Don't remember his first name. And they were told 3 other people. So when I was there, I also attended that forum. And from there I learned how difficult it is, how useless it is for any kind of a discussion amongst people that don't understand what Vedanta is. And this professor of religion, Chatterjee, was making some outlandish comments about, Vedanta and Vedas and so on and so on, even though he's a professor of Hinduism. And Swamiji tried for a couple of times and he was saying, no, that's not true. And he was saying, why not? Why isn't that not true? This is the way it is. So finally Swamiji just kept quiet. He said, I am not going to be able to convince them. So really speaking, to talk to any friends and say about that Atma Vidya cures everything doesn't make any sense. How? So the 10th man example gives a very beautiful example. So, if you look at the person who had made a mistake, he has a very full life. And full life means that he's a student, he's a healthy student, he's, I don't know, 18 years of age. He's learning a lot, he's learning Sanskrit, he's doing chanting, he's learning some things from his guru in the Gurukulam. So he's doing well, everything seems to be well. And yet, because of one thing, his whole life has fallen apart. This is an amazing thing to see. And so very similarly is our case, where our life seems to be working very well. We seem to be well adjusted. We have worked hard to attain a certain sense of where we are. We are married, we've got children, we've got jobs, hopefully, and all of that. Everything is going well. But there's one thing about us that makes us very uneasy. I am not completely happy with myself. Why? Just one thing. So this is where this person corrects this small but enormous mistake and say, my God, you forgot to count yourself, you silly fool. And as soon as this hits him, he said, oh my God. So this has so many implications that we will talk about. One of the biggest implications is that there is nothing that needs to be done. In fact, the more you do, the less you will find the answer. You see, for example, supposing this person says, hey, wait, I think I know what the problem is, okay? So you can tell this guy, wait, don't tell me what it is, and I don't believe you anyway. I am going to start looking for, maybe it's around here somewhere. So I haven't explored that area, I've got to go there. So the person says, no, there's nothing to be done. And you are not listening to him. This is exactly our situation. My feeling is that I may not be completely fulfilled, but I'm working on it. I want a different experience and I think I'll get it. So Acharya says, no. You're already there. And I say, I don't understand how I'm already there. I'm not there. I don't feel there. And so I need to do something. What else do you expect me to do? He says, nothing. Just listen to me. So here, a couple of things about the same example. You know, we talk about these two terms, which you should be very familiar by now. The three different ones, one called pratyaksha, what is in front of us. Then paroksha, which means away from me. And aparoksha means the only thing which is aparoksha is myself. Right? This you must be absolutely clear. I am neither pratyaksha, because pratyaksha means that, and this is the thing, I am trying to find myself in pratyaksha as something, and I'll tell you why, how we will do that. Let me just actually interrupt this in just for a second. The way I'm looking for myself is, I find my mind to be closest to me. Mind to be closest to me. What does it mean? That means that in the conduct of my life, I do a number of things as karma. I do a lot of actions, and I reap the results of my action. This is what is called bhoktritvam, being a bhokta. Bhokta means a enjoyer or a sufferer, either one, positive or negative. And karma is the kartritvam. Karta means I do things, and then as a result of that, I find results that I enjoy or don't enjoy. Where is this result? In the mind, in my mental state, isn't it? So my self-evaluation is limited to where I assess my condition as a result of my mental state. This is important to understand this, isn't it? Because I find myself, people will say, "How are you?" I'll say, "I'm happy." How do you know you're happy? Because you have a knowledge of what your mind's condition is, and if it's a satisfied condition, then you are happy. If it is dissatisfied, you are unhappy. So your entire self-assessment is based on the condition of your mind. Is there anything more than that? No. At any one time, either in the waking state, Jagrat Avastha, or in the dream state, Swapna Avastha, your mind tells you how you are. Only in the deep sleep state, where the mind itself disappears, that also disappears, you don't have any sense of assessment of your mind as a conclusion towards yourself, isn't it? Because you are one with yourself, but you don't know it. But at least you don't have this back and forth between happy, unhappy, or not. Deep sleep is always pleasant. But in the other two states, how you assess yourself is through your mind, isn't it? So this is your limits of self-assessment, right? This is not true. What you are looking at is an assessment of something that you are associated with, not who you are. So going back to the definition of the 10th man story, going back to the three states, which is Pratyaksha, Paroksha, and Aparoksha. So let's just look at this. How do you define yourself? Yourself meaning I am. And we will work on the I am Sat Swarupa, I am Chit Swarupa, and we have been discussing it and we'll come back to it. But regardless of that, for this discussion, that I am is Aparoksha. And that I am is shown by the Shastra as being complete, lacking nothing. This is what the Shastra says. This is what I am, not lacking anything. Just like in the case of the 10th man story, this wise person who is addressing this 10th man is saying, you are okay, nothing is lost. So this is the expression of Purnatvam. Yuham Tvam Purna. You are complete, there is nothing lacking. So in this definition, listen, see what is happening. Is the 10th person ever not aparoksha? The 10th person is always aparoksha. He's always been the 10th person. It's not as though he had disappeared, that he has just born. He's always been like that. So this is interesting to see. The Purnatvam, the completeness of the 10th person, is Nitya Aparoksha. Now look at those Sanskrit words. Nitya Aparoksha means always there. But because of some ignorance, he thinks it is Kalpita Paroksha. What is Kalpita Paroksha? Kalpita Paroksha means imagine to be not there. This is the English translation of Kalpita Paroksha. Imagine to be not there. What is the imagination of being not there due to? Some bhranti, some ignorance. When did it start? It never started. It has always been there. So therefore, the aparoksha vastu means it's always there. As a person, he's always there. But there was some superimposition of parokshata, of not being there, which impeded his sense of completeness. So similarly here also, there is some, in fact, for you and I, our completeness has always been there, as we will see in more detail. Always been there. No question that that your moksha, your sense of fulfillment, is not created. It has always been there, always will be there, because that is your swarupa, that's your own nature. Like in the 10th person, he doesn't have to create the fact that I am aparoksha. I am the 10th, I'm complete. But there was something missing that made him make a false assumption that I am not complete. I'm looking for it. And the more you look for it, the less you're likely to find it. This is why an external entity is important. It says, what are you talking about, my dear? You're okay the way you are. Similarly, here our situation, that an external entity, some teaching has to say, you are complete. You just have to see that. That's it. Nothing to be done. You're nitya aparoksha. But you have a kalpita parokshatvam. Kalpita parokshatvam means that I am not happy in life. I've got to do things. I have to do this, and so on. Vedanta says, look. Do you know you don't have to do anything? You're fine the way you are. But I don't feel fine the way I am. Exactly. That is the problem. Let me tell you why that is a mistake. And if you look into the truth about yourself, you will see nothing needs to be done. You are fine the way you are. So this is where the lessons of the seventh mantra comes in, which says that when it's na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayatah pragyam, all of this means, you know what it really means? Don't evaluate yourself from the standpoint of the state of your mind. So, because in order to show what you should be concerned with, you should be told what you should not be concerned with. Because that is what I am concerned with. I evaluate myself in three ways. Either I am a waking person, continuously evaluating myself as an experience as a waking person. Or I evaluate myself as a dreamer. And both experiences are mine. Both are known to me. I go through them daily, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So my limit of self-evaluation is based on how I assess myself as a waker or a dreamer. And those are all tinged with, so as the Upanishad Vakya says, Neti neti iti adesha. Na iti, na iti, na iti iti adesha. So this is what is called na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, na ubhayatah pragyam. As we will see in more detail when we come to the main, we're still introducing the main topic. So there, Swami Akhandananda has pointed out that the neti neti can be looked at in a couple of different ways, more than a couple of different ways. One way you can look upon that is not as a sthula sharira, not as a sukshma sharira, not as the physical state of my body, pains and aches and cuts and etc. Neither are your mental states. None of them you are. Even the bodily state always comes up as a mental state eventually. Because the whole thing is nothing but thoughts alone. But if you want to be a purist about it, then you can say that it can be done as a physical body state or your mind. You can do it this way. Another way to look at it, which is what Swami Akhandananda actually prefers, that you are neither karana nor karya. This is an important thing to see. You're neither the cause nor an effect. What does it mean by that? It means kartritvam bhoktritvam. As a karta and a bhokta, as a doer and as an enjoyer. Because this is how my assessment is. I did some good things, I think, but I made a couple of mistakes. So this is karanam. This is how you assess yourself. And continuously assessing yourself. Oh, I should have done this, or I did this good. All the vasanas. And then you have the karya, which is not happy about things. Or that I'm very happy with that I did this. So you have this karya karana sambandha that you are always concerned with. The self is, and those are all tied with the two states that we are talking about, either the Jagrat Avastha or the Swapna Avastha. That's it. And again, in those states, how are you evaluating yourself? This is the question. You are evaluating yourself by the state of your mind. Isn't it? Nothing else that you can do. And the state of mind is somewhat of a reflection of you, but not a complete reflection. Like, for instance, supposing you look yourself into the mirror, and some reflecting body like water, that's even a better example, because in the water, either it can be disturbed, in which case your reflection also is kind of inaccurate, it is disturbed, or the water may be dirty, in which case, even though it is not disturbed, at least it does not accurately reflect you. But supposing you have a very clean mirror, let's suppose you have a very, very nice, beautiful, clean, stable mirror. There's no dirt on it or anything. You have a very good reflection about yourself. But can you believe that your self-assessment is purely based on a clean reflection? Is that what's going on? Well, even in a clean reflection, it only shows your front part. It doesn't show your back part. It's incomplete. You cannot assess yourself completely by looking at your reflection. I was thinking these new holograms have come in. I think they're called holograms, where you see a rotating picture of yourself right in front of you in some kind of a hologram. You may have heard about that. I don't see it much now, but I guess when it first came about, it became a big rage. So there you can actually see all sides of yourself. But a hologram is not you. It doesn't have any feelings. It doesn't have any past, future. That's not you. So similarly here also, my self-assessment based on my mind, which is nothing but a reflection, and sometimes a fairly accurate reflection. When you're happy and you're peaceful, that is very close to who you are. But it is a reflection because it can go away in a minute. That's not who you are. So this is our situation. You have a very incomplete picture of yourself because you're only assessing yourself through antah-pragyam, bahish-pragyam, or both of them together, ubhayatah-pragyam. So sometimes the ubhayatah-pragyam, I will go into that and more, but it's somewhere in between dream and waking. Your dream is over and your waking problems have not started. Just for a few seconds, maybe a minute, you have a sense of who I am. So this is called Ubhayata Pragya. And this is also not complete. It is not going to last. It's only there for as soon as you remember what day of the week it is and what you have to do and all of that, your Jagrat Avastha comes back. That's also not assessment. In any case, your self-assessment is incomplete. So what to do? What do you mean by incomplete and what is you? So this is where, as you know, the Kenopanishad and all others say, as the Kenopanishad fourth mantra of the second chapter says, Pratibodha viditam matam. He says the truth of matam here means the truthful view of who you are is you are there in all experiences, not as a reflection but as an unchanging reality. So as Bhagavad Gita also says, avyaktoyam achintyoyam. Avyaktoyam means you are there behind all pratyaksha. No pratyaksha, no vyaktatva, no vyakta. Vyakta means what is manifested. The states of the mind are manifested. The states of mind which as a reflection is not possible without you. You are looking at the reflections and making only the assessments of who you are by looking at reflections. Pratibodha, bodham prati, bodham prati. It's very interesting, the Kenopanishad, for whatever reason, as far as we know, the only Upanishad in which Adi Shankara has given two commentaries. So, what is called Padabhashya and Vakyabhashya. And both go parallel to each other and reinforce each other. Again, as I was saying, that if you have a chance, please study the Kena Upanishad because it's a short Upanishad, very precise, and comes to the bottom line very quickly. And the Bhashya also is very readable. Do both of them, Padabhashya and Vakyabhashya. Look at the English translations of that. And this is which is the Mahavakya. This is the final one. Pratibodha viditam matam. He says, if you know that you are the unchanging reality behind all changes in your mind, then what happens? Amritatvam hi vindate. You obtain the fact that the unchanging reality is even beyond any possible changes, including death of the body. It's interesting that just talking about that for a minute. In India, at least in the vernacular languages, and I think all the languages have it. You know what the name of death is in, like say, I'm just giving you that in Hindi. We are all very familiar with it. Death is called Dehanta. Dehanta. I remember that. Supposing there is in All India Radio, there's somebody died, so they'll say, उस श्रीमान का देहांत हो गया है. Dehanta means the end of the body. That is all that death is all about. There is no other meaning for death. The Atma does not die. The Antakarana also doesn't die. Nothing dies. Only the body dies. So Amritatvam hi vindate. If you know this fact, you are done. Then Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. So that we will discuss some other time. But now we completed the Kena Upanishad, which we had started last time. And I just wanted to go over that a little bit more detail, especially with the understanding of the 10th man example. And let's see if there's something that... I think that's mostly it. So we will, I think, now launch into the 7th mantra in more direct fashion. This is also part of the understanding of the 7th mantra, but perhaps certain commentary, certain background for clarity. But now we will directly go into the 7th mantra from next time. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. They'll say, very nice to see you all. And as I mentioned to you, that on Tuesday we will start a new series, and I have an idea on how we will conduct that class. So if you can, for the first class on Tuesday, we won't really do any teaching. It's just simply a method of understanding and of how we're going to conduct it. So it'll be a short session. So if you can be there, that'll be nice. Okay, great. See you later. Hari Om.